I'd like to call the meeting to order. Our first item is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Karen, would you read our mission statement?
Marshall Public School District 413 develops the potential of each learner for the success in a changing world.
Thank you. First item is approval of our agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
A second? Second. Any discussion, changes, corrections? If none, I'll call for the vote. Next item is a Tiger Spotlight, and we have a special Tiger Spotlight, and I will just read what this says. The School Business Official of the Year Award recognizes the outstanding practices and new ideas of Minnesota school business officials. This award honors the current accomplishments and contributions of MASBO members, which is the Minnesota Association of School Business Officials, right? Yeah. Okay. Over the past 23 and a half years, Bruce Lamprecht, Director of Business Services, has dedicated his time and talents to providing the best opportunities for staff and students of Marshall Public Schools. His dedication, time, and most importantly, commitment to our students and staff is unwavering. Bruce, you are most deserving of this award. Thank you for all that you do. And I would like to add, Tricia and Scott and myself attended the award ceremony, and it was a very nice ceremony, and he even made us stand up for must have been 10 minutes.
At least, right.
Least 10 minutes, but he did a very good job, and it is well deserved. And this is the award he got. This is not from us. This is from MASBO. So we'll present this to Bruce.
All right. It's Waterford Crystal, I believe.
Yeah.
Well, almost.
Are you going to take a picture?
One more picture.
It's 18 days until graduation.
All right.
Yeah. When gender is published. The girls' team is really good. The girls' U15 team is really good this year. I hear the girls' team is really good this year, like the summer league.
All right.
I
Thank
had
you, man.
a U18 player from, or U17 or 18 player from Wilmer tell me that.
Congratulations, Bruce.
Thank you. Thank you all. The award really reflects on the staff and the district, and happy to accept it for Marshall Public Schools.
Would you like Matt, Tricia, and I to stand up for a little while again?
Not this time. Maybe we'll ask Bill to do that. I don't know.
Did he have more than 13 PowerPoint slides?
No.
Okay.
PowerPoint. So.
What's the next item on the agenda?
Moving on.
Time to move on.
Next
Thank
item
you.
is our public forum. Is there anybody in the public who would like to approach the board? Not. Next item is our consent agenda. I have a motion.
So moved.
Thank you. And a second.
I'll second.
Any discussion on the consent agenda? If not, I'll call for the vote. And that is approved. Our next item is the financials. Mr. Lamprecht.
Our bills for the period of April-May by fund category are as follows. The general fund, we had $1,227,730.55. The food service fund, $192,183.42. Transportation fund, $146,607.15. Community services fund, $169,648.16. Capital Outlay Fund, $27,762.62. Student Entrepreneurial Fund, $119.58. That makes a grand total of claims for the period April-May of $1,764,051.48. And I would recommend approval of the bills for this period, Mr. Vice Chair.
Thank you. I'll move we approve the bills. Do I need a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion or questions? If not, I'll call for the vote. And the bills are paid for this month. Any more highlights from treasurer or financials?
I don't know, does anyone have any questions in regards to the treasurer's report? Right?
Board reports and updates. Anything the board wants to share?
I had lunch today with Pat Thomas, AVE, and she just, first of all, she had a huge compliment for Scott Vandermellen, just talked about how organized he is and how she's very much appreciates working with him. This isn't really a board thing, but it sort of goes with that. And she's going to type up something and give to me about all the different places that she's been presenting, talking about our career, kind of the career pathways. I mean, she's doing this nationally, and it's kind of exciting. Maybe you guys already knew that, but I didn't. And so I'll have next board meeting. I'll have a little typed up sheet of all the places she's going.
Great. Anything else?
We had a facilities committee meeting last week, and kind of a recap of all the discussions that Mr. Munson's been having with board members in regards to the referendum, and so I think he'll be sharing some of those responses with us here in the very near future.
Review of our board goals. Do we want to go through them, Scott, or do you want to?
Not necessarily anything to go through, but just now as the legislative session is nearing an end, and knowing that the second school board performance action goal is real focused on advocacy, I would just, I guess, encourage all of the board members to reach out to legislators. They need to hear the messages that you all and we all have been talking about for months, and really encourage them to make sure that schools are funded appropriately, that the ag to school tax credit is included, that there's something done with teacher licensure, potentially something done with the cross subsidy for special education. If there are employer mandated changes to the, or mandated changes to the employer contribution to TRA, we need something in terms of addressing that, and folks need to, Representative Swedzinski, Governor Dayton, Senator Dames, they need to hear the messages that all of you tell. So we've got a little bit of time left to do it. That's one of the school board goals. Continue to do that as you have, please.
Thank you. Next item is administrative reports.
I'll just summarize these quickly. Jim's EL report, there was an information night for EL families, and it was focused on employment-related opportunities. It was held on May 10th, just trying to reach out to our EL families through our parent-student connectors and try to let them know about some potential employment opportunities taking place in the district, whether that be for translators or just to help out with field trips and whatnot. And then also there was some information, or there is information in his report about planning for the EL program that's taking place for next year. In Amanda's report, there was an instructional leadership session that she scheduled with administrators on May 8th and had Nancy Remmert as a part of that, really talking about the work that's happening with professional learning communities and just how can we continue to work smarter, not harder, and get everybody on the same page. And that will continue, that work will continue over the summer and into the school year next year. In Jackie's report, there's information on updated projected enrollment for special education students next year, and you'll notice that continues to trend upwards, so we'll work to address that as much as possible. Bruce Remy shared that in 2018, on February 2017, Marshall High School will host the 2018 Section 3 AA Team Wrestling Championship. I think it's the first time maybe in 6 years since Marshall's hosted that, so that's exciting. There'll be a lot of work to make that happen, but it'll also be a good event for our community and hopefully our student athletes as well. Michelle shared in her report that there was an 85% turnout at parent-teacher conferences held on April 29th, which was the highest, I believe, that they've ever had. In Brian's report, there's a couple dates that you all and we all will want to make note of. May 17th at 8 a.m. is the Honors Convo. I believe that's at the high school, and as you know, graduation is June 2nd at 7 p.m., and he's asking you to let Tricia know if you plan to attend, and then to be there about 6:45 to get organized and head down to the gym. In Mary Kay's report, she had information about the important support that the Marshall PTA provides to the schools. Also, I know last week and the week before, there were some transition activities taking place. This year's fourth graders getting ready for fifth grade next year. I had a chance to kind of watch some of those, and the kids were excited about a lot of things, so helping make that transition go well. Those activities are already underway. Jeremy's report, he shared information about a spring literacy event held on April 18th. Darcy had reports for each of the 3 grades at Parkside, not counting early childhood. Tiffany's report had information about various activities taking place in early childhood and also sort of looking ahead to Little Cubs preschool registration for next year. And then my report has information and updates on strategic planning and also on the legislative session. Mr. Lamprecht.
Just 2 things. One, an update on the food service management contract RFP process. On Thursday the 18th coming up, we will receive by 2 o'clock our hopefully a number of proposals in that regard, and then we'll have a process to determine who our vendor will be. Will it be our current vendor or some other vendor? We've had interest from 4 organizations, so that's a good thing, and we'll see what Thursday brings as far as proposals coming forward. And then the other thing is in regards to the ABE relocation process. Scott Vandermillen and myself and Pat Thomas and others have been exploring a number of different options, and I believe we're coming to a much closer conclusion on that, and hopefully maybe next month we'll have a proposal for you to take a look at and approve. So that's going well. That's all I have. Students.
You're up.
So on Wednesday, May 10th, we visited the homework help here at the middle school. We interviewed 2 students from each grade, 5 through 8. Just had a couple questions for them. First one was the highlight of the year. The most common response was the teachers, and this was the same response that was given when we were there in January. Students were saying the teachers were nice, helpful, and they addressed what needed to be addressed when it came to what they weren't understanding and any issues learning-wise they had. Some other students commented on how they enjoyed attending a field trip to the Teen LitCon in Minneapolis. That was the media department between middle school and the high school took students from both schools to this event in Minneapolis. Second question was just asking about what their grade had planned for sort of the end of the school year events. 6th grade class is going to St. Paul to visit the Science Museum, and they were thinking maybe the Capitol. They weren't 100% sure. 7th graders are having the yearly decathlon where it puts each advisory against each other in a variety of fun activities throughout one of the last days of school. 5th and 8th grade really didn't know what they were doing, but 8th graders said they were excited to go to the high school. But everyone will be attending the talent show in the theater on the last day. And then third question is what could be improved upon. Some commented that they'd like more time to eat. Some said sometimes with the lines they have 10 minutes to eat, and others said they didn't like having bathroom partners. When they had to go to the bathroom, they have to have another student, go walk to the bathroom and wait there for them. Sammy.
Okay. So at the high school, AP testing is wrapped up on Friday. After 2 full weeks of tests, students from both high school and the middle school attended the Teen Lit Convention in Minneapolis back in April. The Marshall speech team sent a group of speakers to the NITALK tournament in Kansas City, and a lot of them advanced into octafinals, which was really exciting. Marshall BPA sent a group to BPA Nationals in Orlando, and Marshall Sports are battling it out in the fight to sections. And 20 people from the Link crew attended the MSBA listening session May 10th for the strategic planning at the high school during lunch.
Oh, yes, you want to say something about BPA?
Oh, yeah, I was attending BPA Nationals this past week. It was a really cool experience. We had, I think we had 6 or 7 people go for competition and 5 more go to receive the Torch Award. The Torch Award is you can receive it at the local, the local if your chapter has it, which our chapter doesn't. We have the region, the state, and the national level. And all these 5 people received it at the region, state, and national, which is really cool because it's been a while since we've had more than 2 people do that. Last year we only had 1 person receive it at the state level. The Torch Award's basically built on several different torches, which are categories where you can get points in for doing activities not only related to BPA, but also related to like service in your communities. And there's categories like patriotism, and you can get points for attending a school board meeting, which is pretty awesome. So I was one of those people who received that award, and that's a really cool award. We got a super cool medal. Then of the 6 competitors, we had 2 people place in, or I think we had 3 or 4 people place in the top 30 of their category, and we had two people place in the top 10. We had the team from the computer animation team, which is made up of Jess Grind, Daniel Van Coolen, and Kyle Murphy. They placed 8th, I think, in their entire nation for computer animation, which is super cool. Then we had Joe Blanchard, who placed in 3 different events. He placed top 10 in C++ programming, where he got 9th. He placed top 10 in Java programming, where he got 8th. And then in financial math and analysis, which is one of the most competitive events in BPA, he placed 3rd in the nation, which gets him on the podium. He gets a super cool plaque. So yeah, he was very successful, especially for his first and last year in BPA. So yeah, BPA had a pretty good trip. It was a lot of fun going to Orlando. So yeah.
And Laith, you had shared earlier that the Nationals has about 1,000 students competing. Is that correct?
Yeah. Across every competition, there's probably 1,000 to like 2,000 people there, and BPA nationwide has like 5,000 members, and they have to advance through the region to the state to the national level. So yeah, once you get to national, it's very, very competitive. So
Congratulations. You too, Sammy, in speech. Great job.
Thank you.
Kevin, you're just an
Kevin,
awesome
too.
guy. So
Kevin did too.
Taking care of the soccer.
yeah.
Thanks, you guys. Next item is first reading of policies 414, 415, and 533. Any questions on that or comments?
I would just comment that 533, which is wellness, has really been reworked, changed. We got information, actually a pamphlet, about 20 pages on from the MDE in regards to what we needed to have incorporated and included in that policy, and we are certainly using the MSBA model policy. And Tricia and Jill and Lori Froon and myself have worked, especially Tricia, a lot to get this put together, and we're comfortable with what we've come up with. So take a look at it if you haven't already, and if you have any questions, direct them to Tricia.
Moving on to our action items, our first action is to approve to add girls soccer as a district-sponsored extracurricular activity starting next fall. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Any more discussion?
this This is just something that we've talked about for a while and sort of moving forward in order to get organized, if you will. Junior varsity schedule would be proposed for next year and then transitioning into a varsity schedule down the road. I think Mr. Remy did a nice job of presenting information and hopefully helpful to make a decision.
Another great opportunity for our students. Call for the vote. And it is approved. Our next item is approval of the shared teachers agreement with Ivanhoe Public Schools. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. I'll second it. Any discussion? We've discussed this before too. I'll call for the vote. And that is approved. Next item is approval of bids for Marshall Middle School heating plant upgrades. I'll make a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? If not, I'll call for the vote. That is approved. That's all our action items. Our next activity is board strategic planning activity with our friends from MSBA. If you guys would like to come up and introduce yourselves. And
We're following up and glad to have Jeff Olson, Gail Gilman, and Terry Quist here from MSBA. They had a busy day last Wednesday, I believe it was, when they met with students, they met with administrators, staff, and then the strategic planning committee that evening. Thank you. And they are here today to work with all of us
Thank you.
on some strategic planning things. And then at 7 o'clock, we've extended an open invitation to the community and parents to come in and also do some work with these three on strategic planning. So Jeff and Gail and Terry, thank you for being here today.
You're welcome. Well, members of the board and administration and staff and students, we're pleased to be here tonight to continue our strategic planning activities. My name is Jeff Olson. I work with the Minnesota School Boards Association. I've been working with the School Boards Association for 3 years. Prior to that, I was the superintendent of schools in St. Peter and retired in 2014. With me is Terry Quist, who's also working with the School Board Association. He's a retired superintendent from Alexandria, and Gail Gilman, who's on staff with the Minnesota School Boards Association. So what we'd like to do this evening is spend just a few minutes reviewing a bit of background in terms of strategic planning and how the Minnesota School Boards Association involved itself in strategic planning, and in addition to review the process that we use in our strategic planning efforts. And then Terry will take you through an input activity. So just a bit of background. The Minnesota School Boards Association, you're probably quite familiar with MSBA, but MSBA represents all of the school boards in Minnesota, so there are approximately 330 or 331 school boards represented by the School Boards Association. Activities involve board training and development, master agreement analysis, policy services, advice. Many phone calls come into the Minnesota School Boards Association offices on a regular basis from school board members and superintendents. Superintendent search, superintendent evaluation, a board evaluation, and strategic planning, to name a few. There's also some assistance with elections in terms of various school elections, whether they be for school board members or bond or operating levy kinds of questions. The Minnesota School Boards Association got involved in strategic planning about 3 years ago, and the real effort behind that started with members and member districts who started to say, we'd like to have more assistance and help in the area of strategic planning That was in part a reaction to something called the World's Best Workforce legislation that I'm sure you're probably well aware of. The World's Best Workforce legislation, along with requiring districts to actively work on goals in 5 different areas, also requires that school districts, that school boards adopt strategic plans. And then in addition, the school districts from time to time survey residents about the progress of the school, about strengths and opportunities. And that also the school district involves a strategic planning committee to help in that process. So we've incorporated all of those pieces into our strategic planning efforts. We've worked in about 30 districts across Minnesota over the last 3 years, ranging from as small as 74 students, grades K-12, to as large as about 7,500 students. So kind of the whole gamut. And if you just take a look at the strategic planning timeline, I'm going to reference some of our efforts. If you glance down to the April-May 2017 box, you'll see that one of the activities that we involve ourselves in is gathering input from students, administrators, staff, the school board, and the community in a variety of input sessions. Now, in the ideal world that we normally would have liked to have operated under, we would have done that all on May 1st. And we had a snowstorm that kept us from getting here or a slush storm or something that kept us from getting here on May 1st of all things. And I know when I was visiting with Superintendent Monson about our process, one of the things we commented on is, well, at least we're not going to have to worry about the weather. Well, we do live in Minnesota, I guess, so it's, there you are. So our process was a little bit off kilter in that we met with those first 3 groups, students, administrators, and staff, last Wednesday during the day, and then we had our first strategic planning session last Wednesday evening. And that really was focused on 3 activities. One, an initial report from us about what we were hearing across the district in terms of strengths, opportunities for improvement, and vision for the future for the Marshall Public Schools. Secondly, Superintendent Monson presented a State of the School District address, which was another data point. A lot of really good information, well done, in terms of the history of the school district, enrollment, budget, test scores, a variety of different topics that were covered during that presentation. And then the last activity was for members of the Strategic Planning Advisory Committee to become involved in a plus delta analysis activity on 6 different focus areas. And those focus areas were things that we came to and agreed to as part of our process based on conversations with the superintendent and about what we were hearing during the day. So we're back tonight to conduct the same activity with you as school board members and also with the community beginning at 7 o'clock this evening. We'll be back next Monday evening, and that will be our second session. And that session focuses on visioning-related activities. So we'll really start with belief statements for the school district. In your last strategic planning process, and Scott, you have to help me, was that 2010, something like that? I think it was 2010 and 11 from what we gather. There were some value statements that were developed. There was a mission statement and a vision statement. We'll review all of those as part of our process and determine if you want to keep, add to, adjust, modify, eliminate, and start over in all of those areas. And then we'll come back in our final session, which is June 7th, and we'll really work on trying to establish some broad goals in each of our focus areas and some more specific objectives, which we might refer to as enabling goals under each of those broader goals within those 6 focus areas. At the end of that process, you'll have a draft strategic planning governance document, and that draft strategic planning governance document will get tweaked by members of the administrative team. We'll have an opportunity to, we'll connect back for one additional meeting where we'll talk about making additional corrections if necessary. And then we'll request that document comes to the school board, and I think we've identified July 17th as the meeting date for that. And then following that, with your adoption or modification and then adoption, We'll look for members of the administrative team to develop a more detailed action plan in each of those areas. When that process is completed, we'll identify a final comprehensive report that we'll send off to the school district. Prior to that, you will have what we would call a plan on the page, which is very similar to what you have in place right now, where you have your mission, your vision, your belief, or your values, and your broad goals. We will also connect back a year after our process is completed, so roughly July or August of 2018, and simply ask, so what'd you do? And we realize that we don't have any real authority in that matter, but I think sometimes it's important to know that somebody's going to come back and ask that question. I think that what I've seen in your district is you are very active in terms of keeping your goals out front as identified in your board agenda tonight, and I think that's a really good practice. We want to make sure that the strategic plan isn't a document that gets shelved somewhere, that it's actually a living, working document. And the final thing we'll do is we'll suggest a strategic plan monitoring schedule so that you're continually bringing back components of the strategic plan to your school board meetings, and then also then to your public and to your staff and even to your students on a regular basis. So that's kind of an up-to-down staircase of the process. So before Terry takes you through that input part of what we want to do tonight, does anybody have any questions? Very good, thank you.
Good evening, it's good to be here. We're going to kind of walk through a little process we did last week on the 10th. And if you take this sheet of paper here, really what we're going to do is we want to gather data from you in terms of what's working well, what do you feel good about, what are the strengths that you have, the delta area in terms of where there are opportunities for growth, for change. And then finally at the bottom part there, it's really about vision. We're asking to go out 5 years, look back and say these are the 2 or 3 things that were accomplished in the last 5 years that you feel really good about. So we're talking about the district as a whole here. So the process will be is that we'll give you several minutes just to work through all 3 of those areas, and then we'll come back and share kind of in a round-robin format. We'll take notes, and we'll put this into our stakeholder engagement report that will come back to the community group next Monday then. So questions on that? So right now, Kevin, you've gone through it already once, so we're going to ask you to go through it again though, okay? So if you think of 2 or 3, 4 items per column there, we'll take 10 or 15 minutes and we'll come back and see what kind of progress we made. So what we'll do is we will take one category at a time. We'll start with the plus side, and we'll start clockwise and start with board member Swope and move this way. We may stop at a time, just ask for some more, for you to share a little bit more about it so that we can be clear about what we're going to share with the larger task force here, that there's no misunderstanding. So we'll take the plus side, and each person read through your full list of responses there. And we know there's going to be some duplication. Just indicate there's some duplication, and we can kind of capture that as well. So if you'd be willing to start, that would be great.
I think, excuse me, our school district does well with best practice research implementation. Our superintendent communicates well, very well with our board and staff. In fact, the best I've experienced in my career. There's a focus on student achievement, trying to get better with the student achievement and looking at data to help improve that. We have received monthly program reports from different programs that we have in our schools that they highlight what they're doing to keep board and community apprised of what's going on. We have an excellent budget balance, thanks to the work of Bruce and his staff, and an exceptional budget balance. We have our professional learning communities, I think, have really honed how well they do work together in terms of what we want to get accomplished with our staff. We are a regional center for services for special needs students. We offer wraparound services from 0 to 21, and I think many times parents with children with heavy special needs look to see where are those school districts, and we're one of those that we can be proud to say we serve our handicapped special needs children very thoroughly. And we have an excellent working relationship with the education department at SMSU at the college, student teaching, field experiences, instructing out at the college, and that's a plus both ways for us. So those are pluses.
Thank you very much.
I put the EL program, I feel like the EL program is on the right track. And I like our career pathway. I feel like that's good for all students. We have really good participation in our extracurricular activities, and we've got solid teachers and staff.
Thank you.
Me?
Yeah.
I as well put down our staff. I think is our greatest strength. Also, what Bill said, our collaboration with the college and the city and other entities within the city of Marshall. Our extracurricular program is very strong. Our one-to-one initiative has been good, but it's also on my Delta side, so we'll get to that later.
And that will happen, yes.
And our financial stability has been there since I've been on the board, and before, I know. So that's a strength. And I just wrote this down in our CIS class, our college and school class is very strong.
And we've heard a number of those comments from other groups that we met with too, so very reflective.
Got a few repeats. Number one is staff also. I think it's probably number one on the list is the great staff we have. The additional programs that MPS provides, like Greater Minnesota, Reading Corps, PBIS, after school program, and the list goes on, I think just helps the students not fall behind and maybe catch some of those that might fall between the cracks. I put fiscally responsible. And then also I have it on both sides, and it's more on the plus side, but keeping up with staffing and programs like EL and special ed. I think we've done a really, really nice job. I think we played a little catch up on the EL side, but we just have to make sure that it's hard, not knowing what the enrollment's going to be, but to make sure that we're keeping up on that. So.
Thank you.
I'm not going to come up with anything new. That's trouble with being last, but we provide a wide variety of activities for a lot of students, leadership opportunities, so I think that's a huge strength for us. I also had our staff, just an excellent core of teachers and administrators, and we really have minimal turnover, which is a really good thing. And then I think we have such a diverse but welcoming environment, and I think that our students and parents feel safe, I think that's going to do a lot with the programming that we have in place.
Good. Bruce, you didn't have a chance last week, so.
I didn't have a chance last
No.
week. I wasn't here, so I do have some things. Some of them are duplication. I'd say the district has good governance, well-structured and informative school board meetings and committees that are active and working. I think we have a structured and aggressive hiring process, considering the shortages, not just with teachers, but in other areas, to try to find the very best candidates that we can. I think the district has always been willing to be innovative. Sometimes those things don't necessarily always work out the way we'd like them. Example is the flexible learning year, but we gave that a try. We're certainly sensitive to the changing student demographics here in our community, and the needs that are changing, and trying to meet all those needs. We have a well-rounded and successful activities program, and we certainly work to foster relationships with the community, with the city, SMSU, and business.
Thank you. Kevin? All right. Second time around.
Again, a repeat, teacher commitment and staff working with the facilities that they're given. And then the administrators caring about student success and how students are doing.
Yeah, I had staff and just student involvement in all the extracurriculars that we have.
Thank you.
Yeah, pretty much the same. I said we had a lot of activities, a lot of opportunities for us to get involved. And then the fact that we have involved and engaged teachers really helps, like, the educational experience as a whole.
A lot of comments through all the groups about your staff here in terms of how quality is, how strong it is, how committed, how passionate. So let's move on to the Delta, and we'll start here. Yep.
Sorry, late.
It's all right.
Early childhood opportunities are really limited by resources, space, licensed teachers, so that is an opportunity for growth. Another one, additional career and technical, building on concurrent enrollment. CIS was a strength, but I think there's also greater opportunities there, additional options for students. And then being able to continue to recruit and retain a diverse population of teachers and staff that mirror our student body. I think is a Delta opportunity.
Bruce, we'll go, keep on going clockwise.
Okay. I think we've had a continuing challenge to get parents and community involved in what's happening with the school district. Everybody's living in the fast track, so to speak, and to get our stakeholders more involved in what they have been. Better or more efficient ways to communicate our story. Again, I think that's part of the whole issue with people leading busy lives and not having the time to pay attention or whatever. Trying to meet all the reporting requirements that seem to continue to grow, the unfunded mandates and reporting that we need to do. Again, trying to achieve that and keep track of all that. And certainly finding sufficient resources to support all the programming that we need to make our students successful.
Kevin?
Transparency with regards to alternate learning options like online classes and some of the PSEO stuff at the high school. Some of the students feel that mental health adaptability when it comes to teachers adapting is something that can be improved upon. And then sometimes trust between staff and students and vice versa is something that can be improved upon.
I just said like more CIS class options. Yeah.
All right. Mine's kind of similar to that. More AP options. You meet kids from around the state, and they have a lot more opportunity to take AP. Like, obviously, we have a lot, but it feels very structured. Like, sophomore year, you're going to take AP US. Junior year, you're going to take AP Euro, so on. So, but around the state, they have a lot more opportunity to take AP classes, and I feel like that would be very, very helpful for a student to be able to engage themselves a lot more, and maybe not have to go off campus to do PSEO classes. And also, kind of like Matt said earlier, touched upon the better technology plans. Not so much that the computers are bad or they're they work very well. The Office 365 is very fun to work with, and it's really useful for a student. But more so how the staff handles it in the library, like they're different, like maybe a different insurance policy, because definitely they're pretty hard line about it. Like I know when I checked out mine, they first forced me to get the insurance, and then they gave me my charger, which I found out later was broken, and then now I have to pay for a new charger. So it ended up, because the charger isn't covered by the insurance. So that, just like from my personal experience, and a lot of other students I've talked to really are unhappy with the insurance policy and how that all unfolded. But yeah, those are my two things.
Member Swope?
Staff development time and resources to complete the initiatives that we have with our staff. I think we do a great job with professional learning communities and letting time a little bit each week. When we're looking at implementing strategies for teaching our standards better, it's going to take more time and more resources to do that. And I think you as superintendents know exactly what I'm talking about. And Scott does too. It's a concern of mine. When we ask people to become creative and be creative, we can't do it at the end of the day. And we need to look at ways to make that sure they're treated professionally to get it done properly. Maintaining class sizes at no more than 22-1 in our primary grades, K through 3. I see that as a priority. In fact, our community has made that a priority in terms of referendum and passing. We keep that on the front burner. And then Matt kind of alluded to that, is more vocational opportunities for kids. I think each of us sitting here knows that we're going to have a shortage of plumbers and electricians and people with hands-on skills that pay very well. And I don't know if we're providing opportunities for them to consider those as potential careers in the future. That's kind of what I'm at.
Thank you.
I think one of the opportunities for improvement would be to focus on needs of all students, not just specific ones, and facilities and classroom spaces.
I had facilities and spaces also, and also back to the one-to-one initiative. It's been great, but we're still learning how to integrate that into the classroom, and the teachers learning how to use our technology, which we are all still learning how to use technology as it changes so fast. Teacher availability, that's a big issue, not only in Minnesota, but all over the nation, I know, so that's a big threat to us. Improving career and technical education, having more offerings. And then I put online learning could be a threat to public education as a whole. As schools are offering more online.
Yep. Long-term. Yep. Thank you. So we're in the last area that now we're looking at the vision. Oh, I'm sorry. My apologies.
Make a note of that. Being skipped is one of my improvements.
That'll be first in the list.
New nickname.
Community involvement, we always talk about the board and Superintendent Munson being involved with the community, and this is actually the opposite. Bruce alluded to this, was finding ways for the community to be more involved with us, not just coming to activities, extracurricular activities, but coming to meetings like this, and then our facility meetings, and getting more involved, getting their input at the meeting, so then we can actually take that information and use it to be better partners with the community. And along with that is communication internally with staff. I think we do a nice job, but probably the staff maybe communicating more too, and then taking their input. Communicating with parents, kind of with what Bill had talked about with standard-based grading, making sure that when we implement a new procedure that parents are aware of it, understand it, and then communicating with the community. I think we do a nice job, but we just have to find better ways because, like Kristen said, with them on the go. And then the last thing would be safety. We put it in our facilities or our referendum, but we have some safety concerns.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
So moving to our last category, and that's really going out 5 years and looking back and creating a vision. What do you think, what have happened during that 5-year period based upon planning and other things that you might do? And Kevin, if we can start with some of your ideas.
I see Marshall creating global citizens with practical knowledge and becoming more of community members and community involved.
Just a lot more involvement in like the community from students overall, and just greater diversity as our district grows.
Larger schools, the classes are always getting bigger, and obviously over the last 4 years, at least my high school experience, they've gotten a lot bigger, and greater opportunity for students. They're already like improving, like we just did today, girls soccer. They're constantly making it a better environment for students to learn and be involved in. Yeah, thank you.
Where do I see us 5 years from now? I think we're already leading in early childhood education, but I would hope that we have more money from the state and from the governor to expand that. We've got a waiting list, and that's not okay. But I do see us being regional leaders in early childhood education for all of our families. I see that happening for us in the next 5 years.
I see a facilities update that works well for both the community and the school district. And honestly, I'd like to see even more collaboration with SMSU and with businesses within the community. You know, we're growing our students. It'd be nice to grow them and keep them here, as opposed to grow them and let someone else have these great kids.
I see us remaining financially stable. Even though we have a high percentage of graduates already, making that even higher, and enough space for everything we do, like everybody's initiatives and everything, and just to continue to improve.
Skippy. Kind of echoing growth, enrollment, and improving our facilities to go with that, keeping our class sizes down, growth in our post-secondary opportunities, and then also expanding our career and tech opportunities.
Thank
You know, we're only more diverse, and we're providing more exposure to career, technical, agriculture, technology, and consumer science.
Bruce, wrapping it up here.
I would say that we developed individual learning plan process and implemented it. This is kind of a given, but improved test scores. Again, like what I believe everybody else has said, up to date and functional facilities throughout, meeting the needs of the students, and producing graduates that are equipped to tackle their futures and be successful. And then again, providing a variety of career and technical educational opportunities for our kids.
A lot of commonality there too. Jeffrey, Dale, any clarifications there? I think so. Very good job. Thank you very much for your input. We're meeting with the community group at 7, and this will all be turned into a stakeholder report that I'm sure you'll receive a copy of it too. So thank you for your input.
Thank you.
So you three high school kids, what's it going to take to entice you to come back to Marshall?
I don't know. Together, you're doing a pretty great job. So.
Huh?
Yeah, it's already pretty great here. So.
A Navy base.
A Navy base, yeah.
They're not going to be able to find. I hope they take good notes.
Yippee, did you sign yours?
I did. Thanks.
It's stuck.
Anything else we need to discuss?
Sorry. I'm so sorry.
Not, I'll adjourn the meeting. The community meeting is half hour, so block.